Hello, and welcome to Person-Centered Planning and Fraud and Abuse Training. This training is required for CLS and respite care workers under the Kentucky State Medicaid Michelle P. Waiver Program. My name is Kimberly Thompson. Most of you know me, of course. I am a student at the University of Louisville, working on a degree in organizational leadership and learning. This training was also put together to fulfill a requirement for ELFH 316, Dr. Terry Rowland. I'm also a CLS worker. I'm Forrest's mom. I feel qualified to do this training simply because not only am I a CLS worker, but I also see the value for Forrest when community living support and respite care is carried out very well. I just want to share quickly who the learning participants are. Of course, when we meet face to face, the learning participants have an opportunity to introduce themselves. But the learning participants are Eric Peters, Bruce Thomas, Jeremy Winkie, and Brett Owen. The lecture topic is Person-Centered Planning and Fraud and Abuse. There will be a PowerPoint and a lecture on the PowerPoint topics. There will also be an activity around person-centered planning and fraud and abuse for kinesthetic learners. The goal of the course is that by the end of the lesson, students will be able to define person-centered planning and better understand how to put into practice the 5 key principles of person-centered planning. Also, students will be able to recognize fraud and abuse and will develop skills in reporting and preventing fraud and abuse. Students will also understand the importance of recording time and documentation for Medicaid billing purposes and will be given an opportunity to become part of a professional service organization of CLS and respite care workers. It's important that we go through the course objectives and skills so that students understand what skill set is to be obtained at the end of the training. First, students will be able to define by answering discussion questions around the following 5 key principles of person-centered planning: strengths and gifts, community inclusion, listening and communicating, enhance human dignity, and review of plan supports. Secondly, students will be able to recognize fraud and abuse as defined by Law KRS Chapter 209A by reviewing and discussing the terms in group participation. The class participants will review statistics of abuse and will better understand the vulnerability of persons with intellectual disabilities and how they are at risk. The students will understand the need for accurate recording of timesheets and service documentation when billing the state for services. Students will be able to recognize neglect, behavioral abuse, circumstantial abuse, sexual abuse, and physical abuse. Students will learn how to handle abuse situations when suspected. CLS and respite care support workers will begin to develop emotional responsibility while caretaking by being able to deal with anger, command inner strength, rethink words and actions, and emotional relaxation for stress. Last, learning participants will become informed about a professional service organization called Support Providing Employees Association of Kentuckiana, SPEAK, to support CLS and respite care workers in their respective careers. We're going to talk a little bit about what the Michelle P. waiver is. The Michelle P. waiver is part of the Kentucky State Medicaid program. What it does is you can qualify if you have a qualifying intellectual or multiple disability. It waives traditional long-term care for persons with intellectual disabilities by providing resources to allow a person to live in their homes and participate fully in the community. In this slide, I want to talk a little bit about the role of a community living support and a respite care worker. Community living support is often referred to as a CLS worker. CLS workers offer support services to an individual by promoting social inclusion and opportunities for community engagement, as well as help build life skills while promoting the health, safety, and welfare of the person. Respite care workers provide relief to caretakers. Outside of Kentucky State Medicaid requiring that CLS and respite care workers understand person-centered planning and fraud and abuse, as well as this being a requirement for me, you guys were all given a pre-assessment, and those questions came back with some concern that maybe training was necessary. There was also a knowledge and skills needs assessment in the form of a survey that all of you took. When that came back to me, again, it was pretty obvious that this training was necessary.